Okay, so I don't want to talk too much in this introduction because I've got a very exciting interview with a very exciting guest. Today I'm joined with Noo, and Noo completed a musical theatre masters at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, which is obviously a great school. And we talked all about the audition process and then about actual drama school and what that was like, and also about graduate life. So there's a bit of something for everyone, and I would really recommend watching it all because it was a very interesting conversation, and I hope you enjoy. Hi everyone, so today I'm joined with Noo, and I've actually loved getting to prepare to interview you because I've been looking at your spotlight and you're so talented, and I love your little singing videos. And I'm so excited to get to talk to you about your masters, about how you decided to get into this, about graduate life. But first, you took a really interesting kind of route, but I feel like it's more common than people think because you went down doing biochemistry, and I did science A levels and arts A levels, and then I decided. So I did a similar thing. But
Yeah.
what made you decide exactly that you wanted to do it?
Good question. And yeah, you're so right. It is way more common than people think. Because obviously you kind of either way you go, whether you go like traditionally academic or you go arts, I think people think there's just one route, and there's definitely not. But I did science A levels. I was very much doing science to go to uni to do science. And then it was like a hobby. It was something I did on the side, but it was something I always loved. And I continued that when I went to uni. And I ended up basically just doing more of that than I did of my degree. Like day to day, the actual hours I spent doing the musical stuff was a lot more. So I thought there's probably a reason behind this. I think maybe I'm not going to go down this route. And at Bath, which is why I went to uni, there's a massive like push. They do really well at it. They put people in placements in their third year. And we, got encouraged to start applying to placements. And there was nothing I wanted to do. There was nothing that I felt like, oh, this will be great experience for when I leave. And then when I want to get this kind of job after, because I didn't want to get that job after, I knew I, wasn't going to go into that. So I thought maybe I should pursue the thing that's currently more of a hobby. But secretly, I think I did always kind of want to go down that route.
Yeah, that is fair. I think sometimes it takes you going down the other route to realise that that's what you want to do. So then how did you find the audition process? Because obviously there's probably not that many people on your course who are going to do that kind of route. So you're kind of on your own in that.
And I did definitely feel quite isolated because I also didn't want to tell too many people that I was doing it. You just don't know how it's going to go, do you? And you hear about, how long it takes people to get in and stuff. And I just thought that I'm going to keep it minimal in terms of who knows. So other than like a couple of close friends and my parents, I did feel a bit alone. And obviously, as supportive and lovely as they all are, like none of them knew anything about auditioning. They're still learning now. Like I'm still teaching them every time I have something come up, like what that means, what this means. And they are great and they love learning about it, I hope. But they did not know anything. So that was a whole process, like picking songs, picking cuts. I didn't really know anything about that. Like, how do you cut music when you've never done that before? No one is teaching you. So I looked to YouTube a little bit for that. And yeah, the audition process was a bit weird because it was half in person and half on Zoom because it was right when the pandemic hit. So I started auditioning in maybe the end of February, or maybe it was even the very beginning of March. And then suddenly it was like, oh, you can do all this online. And it was all over the place. One school said, you're going to have a Skype interview. So like a live one. So it's not a self-tape and it's not an in-person, it's somewhere in between. And then they changed their mind, thankfully, and they asked for tapes. So I did do quite a lot of tapes. In the end, yeah, but that was a whole thing as well, because if you've never done a tape before, that's very overwhelming to suddenly be filming yourself and sending that off. But it was a process and we got through it.
Yeah, I think it is weird actually because usually you do preparation in like the end of the course for self-tapes and all of that. Which audition material did you do?
That's I hoped that you wouldn't ask because I don't remember. I remember some of them, and I remember I changed them for each school, which is on reflection a really weird thing to do, because surely you would just have like your set material. But I think I was getting in my head a little bit when I was doing them. So I was doing
Yeah,
that thing you shouldn't, where I was like, I'll just do something else and then it'll be better. It's like, not
that's what
necessarily.
I did.
Did you? What, just like pick random based on, well, not random, but like base it on the school?
I was just like, well, I don't think this one's working for me.
I'm changing.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the right thing to do. I don't, maybe it's like shows really good self-awareness, but I remember being a bit overwhelmed by having to film so many different songs. I definitely did Home from Beauty and the Beast for a bunch of them because they wanted something a bit older and I didn't really have anything older. So that was interesting. And I definitely did the Mad Hatter from Wonderland.
Yeah.
I think I definitely did that for my central audition. And I did, what did I do? Did I do a Richard III monologue as my classic? And I think I did the monologue that is still on my spotlight. Not obviously it's re-recorded, but can I swear on this? Because it's got a swear
I
word
think
in
you can go for it.
You're right. It's called the Oh Fuck Moment, that play, and it's very funny monologue. And I did that for my auditions, and I still use that monologue because it's great.
Yeah, and you do it very well as well.
Thank you. It's good
Um,
fun.
it is. It's an interesting monologue. And then when you got to drama school, how
Mhm.
was that? How did you find it?
Wow, big question. It was great. It was a really, really like overall great experience. I learned so much. I met so many people who like we also went through this whole journey together. We were very affected by the pandemic. We were like our classes, our timetables, the physical length of the course, and we shifted our start date a lot, so we had a lot to like come up against, and as a group I think that really bonded us, so we had a really good connection as a group, which is lovely. And that that was nice in itself. Like I learned a lot from my other peers as well. A lot of them had been on 3-year courses. A lot of them had been on 3-year courses, but doing slightly different things. Like they'd done pure acting before, and then they were moving to MT. And lots of them hadn't and had done stuff completely differently. Lots of different countries as well. So I feel like we all kind of taught each other little things, which was really nice. But my overall experience was, yeah, I learned so much in that year, just under a year.
That's good. And you say that some people did the degree. Like, what do you find is the differences and the positives and not positives between the masters and the degree?
So obviously they have 3 years more training than some of us do, which is in some ways you just can't replace those physical hours. There's stuff that we just couldn't cover in the year that they've been able to do. Equally, I would say that, and this obviously this is very, very general. I'm not speaking about everyone who's done a 3-year drama school, but I find that people who haven't often have like different experiences of growing up, because it's that period when you're like 18 to 21 ish, or 19 to 22, whatever. You learn a lot from normal uni, because normal uni is not it's not as regimented. You don't have as many hours in terms of the actual work. Again, this is a personal thing, but I didn't work as hard at normal uni, so I did have a lot of free time, and I had a lot of like personal growth time, which I definitely think is a very different experience. Not that you don't do that at drama school. I'm sure you do that in a completely different way, because it's so intense and requires you to like look at yourself so introspectively. But I definitely think that going to a normal uni was the right thing for me, because I learned just a lot about like life and doing all that. And I had to time manage, and especially because I did YouTube, musical theatre, cheerleading, at one point, my degree, all these things, so I had to learn how to fit them all in. So I don't know, it's like a slightly different way of having those like formative years, so people just have slightly different outlooks on things depending on what they did. But again, that's super general, because some people don't fit into those boxes. I kind of wish I had done more training, in the sense that like I love learning, I love training. So if I had been doing 3 years of dance, I would have loved that because it would make me a much better dancer than where I am now. I've not really done that much dance training. I mean, equally to singing and acting as well. But yeah, dance, I feel like I missed out on a little bit because a lot of people had years of like tap and ballet and all this stuff that I mean, I'm scratching the surface of now, and I have to kind of fit into my life now. It would have been nice to have done it before, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think dance is quite hard. Like I do it and I started quite late. And it's like,
Mm.
where do you start with that? Because you can't really go to baby ballet or something.
No, that's the thing. There's not that much like actual beginner, but not fully beginner. You know what I mean? A lot of the classes,
Yeah.
I go to some at Pineapple and stuff, and the beginner classes there aren't really beginner. But if you go to anything less, it's too beginner. It's like, oh, where do we go?
Yeah, and a lot of them, if they're adult classes, they're not focused on actually like improving. It's just like as a hobby. So it's where do
Yes,
you go?
for sure.
So what do you feel like after doing your masters is the main difference in your performing compared to when you started?
Good one.
Hard question.
Yeah, it's a really hard question. I There's a certain like strength that comes from doing, like, you know, like if you're like building muscle, and so you're just doing it and you're practicing. And I feel like all of my disciplines now have this like two things they have. I've obviously practiced a lot more, I've trained more in a very like, this is what I'm doing and it's not for a hobby and I know where it's going, so I can kind of train it in a specific way. And the other thing is like a sort of underlying confidence that I I can do it. I think before, when I would perform, maybe you couldn't tell, but maybe you could tell that it was not necessarily my first priority, or that I wasn't quite sure if like I was good enough. And I think getting into drama school gave me a level of confidence, and now having gone through the training, I have a level of confidence that just like wouldn't be there, even if it's like it's subconscious. I don't think it even necessarily comes from me, but it comes from like someone saying, yeah, you are good enough to go to a drama school and to be in the industry. And so in the back of my head, I go, well, I got into Central, so that counts for something. And then I think I'm slowly building up my own personal confidence with it, just from continuing to train. And that was a process throughout Central that is only going to continue, because in a year you can't ever be like fully ready.
Yeah, I think that's true because it's wild how much someone accepting you into something can change your view of yourself.
And maybe that's not, I know that your own validation, it should be for
Yeah.
you, but there's always something to say from someone who knows what they're talking about, telling you that, you're good at something. You go, okay, maybe I am. Everyone needs a bit of that.
I think so, yeah. How has it been then graduating and leaving that course?
Yeah, we had quite a sad like end to it, in the sense that we didn't really finish it. We all everyone got ill right at the end of that course. Lots of people had COVID, lots of people had other illnesses, and we just sort of dispersed over that Christmas. And then we had a couple of months in the next year which were focused on it was called a SIP, but it was basically like a dissertation, but not as much writing. And we were all doing that from like all corners of the earth. We came together to film what ended up being our showcase. When was that? Maybe this time last year. But that was kind of it, and not everyone was there, and it was a bit of an anticlimactic end. So that was sad. That was not the best ending. It's not like what you hope for, in that you have a big showcase and you all start getting your agent emails through, and then you zoom off into the world, the industry. But yeah, that was a bit sad. But moving on from that, I think it's given us like a collective strength. So everyone's kind of been quite focused on getting out there and making the most of what we did have, which has been really nice. So I think most people are enjoying grad life, other than we miss performing altogether, because
Yeah.
don't take that for granted. If anyone watching is still in drama school, don't take for granted that you are getting to perform like every day and with a group of people, because you just don't get that until you then get into a show.
And how have you found the professional auditions coming out of doing the course?
Really fun. They're weirdly just not as scary as you think they're going to be. I found some of the like assessments or little moments of drama school harder than professional auditions. I think because once you get to a certain level, like if you've been invited to audition for something, which is, 95% how it works, they have a certain level of like trust in you. Again, it's that someone saying like, yeah, you're good enough for us to see you. So you kind of think, well, they want to see me, otherwise they wouldn't ask me to come in, because they don't need me. There's loads of people auditioning. And that's quite nice. That's quite settling. So I found them really fun. It's nice to go in, and if you do get a chance to actually go in person, meet people, everyone's always so nice. I mean, if it's a dance one, it's like a free dance class. It's great. I don't know. The auditioning, it's tough, don't get me wrong, because there's a lot of, you don't hear back, or you don't hear back for ages, and then it's a no, and then you think, oh no, what have I done? And there's no feedback. So it's hard to, drama school, you get all the feedback in the world, and then suddenly no one's telling you why you didn't do something right. You just kind of have to guess, which is not the easiest, but it's also fine. It's just the way it is. You learn your coping mechanisms, and then you build it up over time. I found it fun, but there's still lots to learn, obviously. I like that. I like learning, so it's okay.
Can you not ask for feedback, or is that not something?
Not really. It's not so much like a done thing to ask for feedback. I think if you got really far through something, like let's say you're in the finals for something, and maybe if you had an agent who said that they were happy to, I've heard of people saying, do you mind asking them, like, what was it, just for next time or whatever. But for the most part, feedback's not so much a thing that you get, unless you're lucky. Sometimes you get a little bit.
I mean, for some small auditions, I've just been going for it. Like, they've not given me the job anyway. I've just been like, can I have feedback?
How did I do? I mean, maybe if you don't ask, you don't get. So yeah, I definitely think if you have a more personal relationship with the creative team, or if you know that it's a bit smaller and they're not auditioning that many people, why not ask? Because it is valuable to have someone tell you how you're doing. Otherwise, how do you know? And how do you know what to improve, or what might be perfect, but maybe you're not just quite right in that role. But
I don't know. I don't know whether it's nicer to just forget and not hear all of the reasons why they don't want you.
Sometimes it's nice to come up with your own reason, like, they definitely just wanted a blonde. Even though that's not a thing and everyone wears a wig. But I don't know, sometimes it's nicer to be like, okay, I could have done this song better, but this song was great, so it must have been something else. A little bit of both.
I like to think.
Yeah.
And how have you balanced your performing with life? Because when you're at drama school, it's performing every day and it's more of a big thing. So how do you balance that once you get out?
Yeah, it's very roller coastery. If I see my friends, for example, like if I see one of my friends about once a week or once every 10 days, it's always different what I've been doing. So sometimes I'll give them the update and I will have so much to talk about, and sometimes I have like nothing. I mean, I haven't really done anything. No auditions, no workshops, nothing. Because there's quiet periods and there's busy periods. For the most part, it's kind of what you make of it, I think. I try and do as much dance as I can in the week. So like 1 or 2 classes like every week without fail. I try and keep up a bit of singing. I mean, singing lessons are they're not cheap. But if you can like just top it up every now and then, like once a month, once every 6 weeks, that's quite nice. So I try and feed performing into my life, even when I'm not necessarily going to loads of auditions, or I'm not in a job, obviously. But it is hard to balance. There's a lot of spinning plates, I think, when you're a working actor. And yes, there are spinning plates at drama school and at uni and like all of these places, but they're like controlled spinning in the sense that like your teachers know what your spinning plates are, and then obviously you have your personal stuff, but like it is quite controlled, whereas no one's like checking what your plates are when you come out. So it's like a little bit chaotic, and you have to be sure to check in with yourself, I think, and make sure that it's all working. Like, is my muggle job okay? Is my performance side okay? Am I okay? Is my surrounding okay? Like, have I done my washing? Because otherwise it can just, I mean, all go a bit wrong, but it's okay. You have good weeks, you have bad weeks, you have busy weeks, you have quiet weeks.
Do you have any tips for anyone who's about to graduate?
Um, if you're about to graduate and you're like scared, because you probably are a bit like, what's going on? Um, I would two things. I would very much like just trust in the process. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no anything is supposed to happen or not supposed to happen, which I had to learn as well because I came out, I didn't have expectations, but I was a bit, when you hear things and people go, well, you need to have an agent to do this, that, and the other, and it's like, well, actually, you maybe you don't right at the start. So little things like that, like just trust your own journey. Try not to compare it too much because you don't know, and you don't know anything about anyone else's journey really. You don't know what they're doing. So yeah, trust in that. And also, if you have a support system, if you have nice friends, like help each other and use that because it's invaluable to be able to talk to both people within the industry, and if you are lucky enough to have people who kind of don't get it, who can also just like completely take you out of it, that's really good too. I really value my friends from Bath who, I mean, they care and they ask their questions and all of it, but they also, we don't talk about it all the time, and I don't feel like we are ever, you're not all going up for the same things and you're not doing all that. So it's quite nice to escape. And then equally, it's so nice to go in and have someone be like, oh, yeah, I auditioned for them. That was so hard, that routine as well. So you have a little bit of like camaraderie, but also an escape. Yeah, those are
I
my.
think that's good. It's good to have a support network because otherwise it's really isolating.
For sure.
So what have you been up to since you've been graduating? What's next for you?
Okay, what have I been up to? I moved back to London. I moved away at the very end of my course because I was doing, as I said, this dissertation, and we moved. Yeah, we all moved out because we thought we were going to go be on a January to January course. So when it got pushed back, everyone then had like a couple of months left of the course where they weren't technically renting. So I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna leave and go home for a bit. And my parents moved out of London recently, so I was like, okay, escape to the sea. And I ran off, finished the course there, and just chilled out a little bit, to be honest, because we were all exhausted. So I did that, and I moved back to London. And since coming back to London, I have taken on some other jobs just for like money for the living. I have kind of reshaped my social media as well. So I used to do a lot of YouTube, and it used to be very study focused. And now it is moving a little bit more towards me and my, nearly not my coffee over, me and my life. And also I have started a food one. So I do a food review account on TikTok and Instagram, which I love doing. So start doing that a bit more. And I've just been kind of like doing things where I can. So like auditioning when they come up, they come up. Great. Going to these classes, doing like little master classes here and there, and just like getting into it. I think like you have to be kind to yourself in your first year out, that you need some time to like sink into this new lifestyle. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I don't think I've done anything like major, but that's not, I didn't want to in my first year. I wanted to like, I didn't want to suddenly, like, lots of my friends left on cruises, so they booked cruise jobs, and I was like, don't do that in your first year. You want to try and like settle in London a little bit, and then once you've done that, so like now I've done that a little bit, then you can start looking at like making big moves. But for now it was nice to just like settle into it and see, kind of scope out the industry, and keep training a little bit as well, like keep working, which I'll obviously continue to do. That's not exclusive to the first year, but yeah.
I think that's good because I think a lot of people have such a rush when they get out to do everything straight away, but you have so much time.
So much time, yeah.
So finally, I do have all of the links for everything that you've ever done ever because I've done my research. But what do you actually want to promote to the people?
To the people, what do I want to promote? I mean, if you are interested in like keeping up with the actor life, the good and the bad and all of that, then I am going to make more of an effort to document that on my YouTube channel. It's a pre-existing platform, so it's there. If you put in Noo Stenning, it'll come up. But also, if you like food and drink and you live in London, or you just are interested in that, then follow Noo's Review, because I really enjoy making that content, and I think that it's actually genuinely quite useful. So yeah, that's what I'm promoting to the people.
So everyone should go check that out. And thank you so much for.
Thank you.
So obviously I will link Noo'S TikTok and YouTube in the description. So no excuses, guys. Make sure you check that out. And thank you so much to Noo for taking the time to do this. I really took a lot away from the conversation that we had, and I hope everyone else has too. And thank you so much to everyone for watching this and for watching my interviews. Stay tuned, there are more interviews coming, and hopefully I will then see you in the next interviews. Thank you so much. Bye.